Everywhere I am is holy ground, for I walk with God. Everywhere I am is holy ground, for the power and the presence of pure spirit makes my path gentle and easy. Gentle, easy, gentle, easy. Everywhere I am is holy ground, and I live in love. Everywhere I am is holy ground, for the power and the presence of pure spirit makes my path gentle and easy. Gentle and easy. Gentle and everywhere I am is holy ground, and I stand in peace. Everywhere I am is holy ground, and the power and the presence of pure spirit makes my path gentle and easy. Gentle and easy. Gentle and easy. Just be gentle. Oh, be easy. Be gentle and easy. Okay, this is where I would have given LaVon a hug, but we don't do that anymore. In fact, actually, everybody's had a mask on this morning until they got up here. And I just want to say, for those of you that don't know, our Beverly is a very talented woman. She does backup with bass or guitar, whatever needed, and then she does drums. Why? Because we're in a weird time. Let's call it mean time or in-between time. It's an in-between time because it's not the way it was and it's not the way it's going to be. It's just in-between time. And how many of you have noticed, this is what I noticed. April was the longest month of my life. You know, there's a song in Jesus Christ Superstar where he's at Gethsemane and he's pleading to God, take this cup away, but not, thy will be done. He said, I gave it 3 years, felt like 30. Well, I gave it 30 days, felt like 30 years. Anyway, let's make this time a good time, a powerful time. Because for us in Washington, I guess we're going to do May now. So April was good, and it was just a starter, sort of like, like people are passing around sourdough starters. Well, April was a starter for May, and I have decided that it is my purpose, because I'm a sort of a type A driver kind of girl, and I really want to have a focus. So my focus is that I come out of whatever we're in, this in-between time, better. And my focus is that I facilitate anyone that is within range of my voice, that they come out of this in-between time better. That we go from just surviving this time to finding a way to thrive. And thrive takes a shift in consciousness, and I've talked about it a lot because it really was impactful to me when I found out that Viktor Frankl, after having survived the concentration camps in Germany, he was doing, and he was a psychologist, a psychiatrist, I think. He was doing a conference, and he said to these group of other doctors, too many of us want to help people survive something, survive a trauma, survive an illness, or whatever. And he said, what I want to do is help people thrive. See, if we're into survival, we want to get over something. We want to get over the pandemic. If we're sick, we want to get over being sick. If we are unemployed, we want to get over being unemployed. We don't think long range, really long range, which is I want to use this experience to not just get through it and say, whew, I got through it, but to find the strength, the inner capacity, the inner capabilities, the inner resilience to take this and make me a thriver in life, not a survivor in life. So that's my purpose. Last night on Facebook, I offered a meditation that's working for me, and I'm going to offer the second and third part of those meditations. So like me on Facebook, and also perhaps like Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, I think we call it CSL Seattle on Facebook, and I'll share some things because I want us to have this opportunity, this time in between, to build what it takes for us to not go back to the old thing, which would have been normal. I'd like us to discover our capacity to create a new normal, not only for ourselves, but for our world. I want a new normal. I don't want to go back to that. You know, I realized that one of the reasons that my months were going by so quickly is because I was so busy. I was busy and being taken up by this distraction and that distraction, and they were nice distractions, but I wasn't really experiencing myself or my relationship to the divine, and I don't want to go back to that. If some of you were employed, but you were just barely employed, do you want to go back to that? If you had relationships, but they were surface relationships, do you want to go back to that? If you want to work with people at work, and yet that work wasn't satisfying or fulfilling, do you want to go back to that? Or do you want to create a whole new normal? Well, luckily, I got some inspiration from Ernest Holmes. God bless him. The theme for the whole religious science movement right now is listen to your heart, and it's part of the Science Mind magazine for May. And in there's a article by our founder, Ernest Holmes, and it was given, now get this, it was given in September 24, 1942. Now you might think, well, 1942, what's that? It's the middle of World War II. He's giving some instruction in the middle of World War II. Just like we're in the middle of a pandemic, they were in the middle of a world war. Just like we're in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. And just as they were living in a chaotic, what's happening, how will we respond, not knowing the future, we're in the middle of something. We don't really know the future. Now we can, as metaphysicians, know that we can help to create the future, but to the human mind, it's what's going to happen? What's going to happen in my neighborhood? What's going to happen to my country? What's going to happen to my company? It can be, the unknown can be incredibly chaotic. And his message, in the middle of that, in the middle of World War II, his message, and I want it to be my message, is that we need to let love heal. We need to let love heal. Love is another word for God. The highest word for God, perhaps, in many of people's opinion, is love. So I'm going to talk about love, and I'm going to talk about how it heals. And when I say heal, what I really mean from a metaphysical point of view is that healing means the revelation of an inner wholeness, a revelation of an innate wholeness. That's what healing means. So when I use healing, it's about a revelation, not a fix. One of the things that came to me many years ago is that the mind always wants to fix. But the heart, which is the way that love speaks through us and to us, and I don't mean heart like boom, 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 boom. What I mean is that heart space, that heart chakra that we often talk about and that we can feel. It wants us to not just fix, it wants us to transcend, to reveal an inner wholeness, an inner completeness, an integrity, which means nothing missing, nothing wrong. That's a revelation. Now, my mind can look out there and say, there is a lot of things to fix, and there's a lot of things wrong. I mean, just when I was so proud of Washington, because we've done such a good job keeping the coronavirus down and deaths down, praise God for Washington. We were the first to have the coronavirus, and we have just really managed with social distancing to keep the mortality rate down. I found out we are the first state in the United States to get this, what they call the killer hornet, or no, they call it the murder hornet. I don't want to tell you about it. You Google it. But it's like, wow, my mind goes, see, that's wrong. And yet the heart doesn't want to stay there. The heart wants to remember a wholeness and a connection and a harmony. Heaven and harmony are synonymous. Seek ye first the kingdom of harmony, and all else shall be added, meaning I can be in harmony with things. Recently, I was listening to a story of a monk and his initiate, his disciple. They were walking through the forest, and they were met by a tiger. And it's told from the words of the initiate, or the disciple, the follower of this monk. And there's the tiger's in front of them, and the initiate, the student, says, what are we going to do? And the monk calmly says, well, we have three choices. One, we can try to fight the tiger, and we will lose, and it will have the best dinner it's had in a long time. Or two, we can run, but we can't outrun the tiger, and it will have the best meal it's ever had in a long time. Or three, we can use our minds to contact universal intelligence. I'm using my words, I'm paraphrasing here. To find a place of harmony and then let something work out. And so the student is so afraid he can't run, he freezes. He can't run, he can't fight, he can't, we either do fight, flight, or freeze, and he did freeze. And then pretty soon he comes out of it because the tiger is turned away, and he asked his monk, his leader, his master, what happened? Master, what happened? And he said, well, I had calmed my mind, and I went into that place of universal harmony. And I became one with everything, and I became one with the life of the tiger. And since the tiger saw no fear in me, it had no reason to fight me, and went off to get another meal. I know that sounds like a superstition and a wives' tale, but honestly, at the highest place that we can go in our evolutionary process, we will find a harmony where there is nothing to fight. And that's what I want for myself and for our world. But Ernest goes into some adjustments that we have to make to get there. And when I was reading his adjustments, the ones that he talked about, it reminded me of the 4 agreements that Don Miguel Ruiz advocates. And I think most of you have either read the 4 agreements or at least heard about it, so I'm not going to get into it too much. But in those agreements, you make agreements to get you out of the domestication or the seduction of the way the world works so that you can start to own your power again. And Ernest Holmes in 42 did something similar, only he called them adjustments. We need to adjust ourselves, especially if we're in pain. Now, when I thought about this, I don't go to chiropractors, but I do go to a naturopath who does muscle adjustment because he says the muscles are the things that keep the bones and the spine out of alignment. So if you adjust the muscles, then they put the bones back or, adjust the back. So he does muscle adjustment. And I know that there have been times I've been in pain, usually after a very long flight of sitting. And I will go to him and he'll do some muscle stuff and then I feel great. I always go out of there half an hour later and I feel great. There's been an adjustment. I went from inharmony, pain, to no pain, harmony with my body. So Ernest Holmes in the same way says that we need to make some adjustments in our mind so that we get out of the inharmony and the pain that is caused by that inharmony. Go from no heaven to heaven. And he says the first adjustment must start with the self. So if you feel victimized by current circumstances, or even if you felt victimized before these current circumstances, if you lack self-confidence, if you have a sneaky idea that there's really something wrong with you, you can't put your finger on it, but you know that's there, sneaky. Therefore, you don't want to try anything because you don't want to prove to yourself that there's something wrong with you. You need an adjustment. You need to be back in alignment with your true self. What's happening when any of those three things are happening? You feel victimized, you're lacking self-confidence, you have a sneaky idea there's something wrong with you. You don't want to try anything because you don't want to fail and you don't want to show up as a failure. All of that stuff comes from original sin. Let's just talk about it, brothers and sisters. Get into the sin of it. But sin is nothing more than a mistaken idea that you can be separate from God. Original sin is the mistaken idea you can be separate from God, separate from good, and then from all the other little things come from that. People do unskilled behavior and silly soul stuff. I'm going to call it silly soul stuff. Because they don't know that they're one with God and that they can just rely on that power to live through them. So I have an adjustment for you. Take a deep breath. See, we need to overcome this maladjustment, this kink in our neck or our spine, or it's a kink in our consciousness and our self-concept, and it hurts. And we need to rely on the universe for that. Universe means one song, and you are definitely a place in that one song. You're a place in that chorus, whether you can read or not. I mean, sing or not, read or not. Before you can sing or not, you are part of a chorus. And so we need to understand ourselves as that. Understand ourselves as that, I should say. Emerson said, trust yourself. Written on the Temple of Delphi, on the outside of the Temple of Delphi, it said, know yourself. And Shakespeare said, to thine own self be true. So we need to allow ourselves to be informed of who we really are. And I'm going to give you a little practice, and it's going to be very quick for our time right now. Because I have more things to say. This is just the first adjustment. But if you choose, practice this in your own time and extend it. But here's the practice. I want you to think of something that you've loved. First thing that comes up. It could be a person, a spouse, a child, a parent, a cat. By the way, on cats, my cat thinks that Tim's lap is holy ground. So Tim comes in the house, and she will actually bat him until he sits down and she can sit on him. And then she's like, okay, I'm here. So think of an animal, a dog, a gerbil. One of our wonderful congregants has a ferret. Whatever it is, what do you love, 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 love? Now think of it. And think of it, I want you to let that thought move into your heart so that you think not only of that which you love, but allow yourself to feel the love. Feel the love that you feel for that person, place, thing, animal, piece of property, garden, hillside, sunset. And feeling the love. Now that's just the beginning of God's love for you. It doesn't even begin to take in the magnitude of the love that the universe has for all of its creation, which is you. So sometime today, because I've got 3 more adjustments to make, sometime today from that place of love, let yourself write a letter from God to you, a love letter. And just get started and the words will flow. Start out with saying, Dear LaVon, Dear Joel, Dear Dawn, Dear Beverly, Dear Kathianne. And let the words flow, but not until you feel that love. And let your hand be the instrument of God's communication of love to you. It was St. Francis who said, make me an instrument of thy peace. Well, how about make me an instrument of thy love for me. Because if we don't love ourselves, if we don't know ourselves as loved by the universe, we can't do the next 3 adjustments. It's like when my friend Doug Lewis is moving me, he has to move one muscle and before he can move the next muscle. He doesn't go right for the muscle that's causing the problem. He moves until the last resistance has no resistance. But we start from the inside. This is an inside job. First adjustment. Know yourself as part of the one song, as a beloved part of the chorus. You're not backup singer. You are main stage girl, main stage guy, main stage whatever you want to call yourself. Whatever you are, whoever you are, your main stage in the choir of life. First adjustment. And then we're ready for the second adjustment. The second adjustment is with other people. See, if you depend on other people, if you're suspicious of other people, if you're critical of other people, if you're accusing other people, if you envy other people, if you're jealous of other people, you need an adjustment. Because if you really pay attention, those kinds of attitudes hurt. They hurt you mentally, they hurt you emotionally, they will begin to hurt you physically, and they will definitely hurt you spiritually. And by hurt, I just mean that there will be less of the flow of energy of life because you have become restricted. What I know is that if I get angry, and I still get angry, but it doesn't take very long and I will actually feel physically sick. My body doesn't like anger. I can't afford anger. It comes and it goes, but I can't entertain it for very long because my body goes, oh, this is awful. We haven't had that in a long time. Poison. So I encourage you to ask yourself if you have any of those, and if you do, you have an enemy. And Jesus said that an enemy, and the way that he said the word enemy, it meant someone you're out of sync with, meaning you're not in harmony. Once again, we get back to harmony. And when we're in sync with people, it's heavenly. When we're in harmony with people, it's heavenly. If we're not in harmony with people, if we're always watching out for ourselves and trying to say the right thing and getting back and blaming, it's hell. We don't need to go there. We're already there. So we need to allow ourselves to remember that we extend beyond our skin. We're staying 6 feet apart. We're not sharing space, and yet we share space. not only the people in this room, but I'm sharing space with you because I extend beyond my skin. You extend beyond your skin, and we have to understand that. And we have to understand that what we feel intensely ripples out from us and affects other people. Our thinking and our energy ripples out from us, and it affects other people. And oftentimes, if we really look, those people are only telling us what we've been rippling. A long time ago, my goodness, it must have been at least 25 years ago, maybe only 24, but it was a long time ago. I remember where I was. I went with a group of women that I love, and we took a weekend trip to Sedona. And it was, we were so excited. It was a lovely time. And we did a crafts fair, and we went to see art galleries, and we went to a spa, and we were sitting around talking as women do when they get together. And one woman was saying, I really am having a hard time with my daughter-in-law. My daughter-in-law doesn't like me, and I can't do anything to please my daughter-in-law. I just really, and out of my mouth, I had no idea why I was going to say it, but I now know it was true. It just came out of my mouth. I said, I bet you disapproved of her before she disapproved of you. And she thought about it, and she said, I think you're right. Now, she never said anything, because she was a gracious woman. She never said anything. She never slighted in any way that she knows of. But it was a thought, and it ripples. So if we really want to make the adjustments, and it's still, guess what? It's from the inside out. We need to make an internal adjustment. An internal adjustment. And allow ourselves to meditate on being a center of love. Ernest Holmes didn't talk much about relationships. He talked a lot about success. He talked a lot about healing. He talked a lot about drawing money to us. He talked a lot about being physically well because of prayer. Very little about relationships, and I think it's because he never had a problem with them. So he just didn't talk about them. He just thought everybody had good relationships. And the only thing I could ever find that he ever said about relationships was, if you want a friend, be a friend. That's what he said. Isn't that how to win friends and influence people? But it's not just how you act. It's not just how you smile. It's not just because you used to shake people's hands or give them a hug. No, it's what are you feeling inside? So your second adjustment is to love. Now, you can love because you were first loved. That's why I want this afternoon that you spend some time allowing yourself to feel the love of God. And in the Bible it says we can love because we were first loved. So for all those people you say you can't love, no, that's because you've still cut yourself off. You haven't had your first adjustment. You still think that you're an individualized person who can be run by your prejudices, and therefore you are. But when you allow yourself to be loved by God, it will fill you up to the place where it can be contained within yourself. You must give it away, and then you become an epicenter of that love. So your second adjustment is after the first adjustment, the second adjustment is to breathe into that love and say over and over again, I am a center of love. I am a center of love. I am a center of love. I love because I have been loved, and I will always love because I have always been loved and will be loved. So you just allow yourself to be that center, and you let it just ripple out from you. If you want to read the story of St. Francis, who became so enamored with the love that God had for him. He had to love everything, and that's why he is now known as the patron saint of ecology, because he loved everything that he was preaching to the birds and the animals, and they would flock around him and follow him because he was a place of love. There was no fear in him. All perfect love casts out fear. So it doesn't matter what they say about you. It won't matter if they don't agree with you. Differences of opinion will be just differences of opinion. It won't be a personal insult, which is so rampant in our country right now. Why do people get so aggravated because other people believe a different way? They took it as a personal insult. We need some love, brothers and sisters. So, I'm asking you to join me. Adjustment 1, adjustment 2. Now let's go for adjustment 3. You can do this. Now we broaden our influence for good by adjusting our view of society. Ernest Holmes says we must see the whole world as striving and struggling upwards and onwards. We have to see that people are doing the best they can, and then they know more, and then they do the best they can, and they know more, and then they're doing the best they can, and they know more. Instead of look how far they need to go or how far they're stuck, we need to see society as moving and evolving upward into a higher consciousness, because it is. I don't want to give you all the statistics, but we're better off than we were 100 years ago and 100 years before that. But we have to see that to support that. And we're the ones that can be aware of that so that we can see it and we can support it. I do not want my world to be created into a new normal by those people who think it's all going to hell. I want to create a world with new possibilities by people that are seeing that God is drawing us to its self-realization. He goes on to say, and this is so beautiful because remember, he wrote this in 1942. This is the meaning of the 4 freedoms we hear so much about today. I didn't know we were hearing about the 4 freedoms, but I guess in 1942 they were hearing about 4 freedoms. The 4 freedoms were goals articulated by President Franklin Delano Roosevelt on January 6, 1941. In which he proposed 4 fundamental freedoms that people everywhere in the world ought to enjoy. Freedom of speech, freedom of worship, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. I can get behind that. And if you're listening, I hope you can too. And could you begin to see that we are moving towards that? See, it hurts us when people, I'm doing what I can to support the many organizations that are supporting so many people in want right now. Tim and I do not need whatever that check's going to be. We haven't got it yet, but I'm going to get it so I can give it away because we don't need it. I've got a salary, Tim's got a pension. I don't need that money, but I will do good works with that money. But see, I'm called to that, and I believe that even more people are called to that. I have heard of so many things where people are being so generous. We need to put our attention on what we want more of so that that becomes normal. That people reaching out, serving people is normal. That people being able to accept that help is normal. Our next and final adjustment is to adjust our view of the universe. If you feel unlucky, if you think your destiny is tied up in how soon we get an available vaccine, we were just talking about that. I don't necessarily believe in what I hear on the news. I believe in Bill Gates. And if he's behind us getting a vaccine, I think we're going to get a vaccine. Just because I know he's focused and he's not working for anybody but himself. I believe in that. But my destiny's not tied up in that. My destiny is part of a universal plan, and I know that for you, and I want you to know that for yourself. Otherwise, we will always be living from crisis through it, crisis through it, crisis through it. We will be surviving instead of thriving. We thrive when we know that true security and harmony comes from a sense of our unity with the wholeness of a universal plan and unfoldment. And that our soul is immortal, eternal, and deathless. and that we can commune with a power greater than ourselves, from which all good flows. Now, I've said a lot. I've even wanted to yell. I've got energy on this. And I only had 2 sips of Diet Coke. So this second service, oh my goodness, who knows what I will do. But what I want you to do right now is to let your heart speak. Because that's the theme for this month. Listen to your heart. The talk title is Let Your Heart Speak. I want you to let your heart speak. Just take a moment. And if you want to, put your hand over your heart space. And did what I say have some truth in it? See, love can recognize truth. The head just sees it as an opinion. And when I say truth, I mean capital T, truth. A truth that frees. Love heals, but truth will free us. Is there freedom in what I said? If there's freedom in what I said, there was truth in what I said. And if there was truth in what I said, there was power in what I said. But only your heart can tell you if that was true. The heart is the great discerner of the soul. It discerns what is just chatter and what is significant. It is the great adjuster. So listen to your heart and let your heart speak of your own innocence, of your original innocence, your original purposefulness. You are not random. You're not an accident. Your very life is a celebration of life. If Jesus could say that every hair on your head is numbered and counted by God, I'm paraphrasing, then my goodness, your whole life is a celebration. Now listen to your heart. And let it tell you how wonderful it will feel to love everyone. Let it remind you that love feels good. And that whatever we love is only training wheels for the great love that God has planned to move through us. And in that moving through us, when love moves through us, how blissful that is. Let your heart speak to that. Now let your heart see all of society and the people of the world being lifted by this love that's being cultivated within yourself. See a new normal. See a normal of cooperation. See a normal of sharing, of caring. And see for yourself the harmonious plan of evolution that the universe is doing right now. I was going to say it's initiating, but it's already been initiated. This evolutionary plan was initiated from the very beginning. We are just awake enough to see it happen now. We are awake enough to be co-conspirators with a whole new world order in which not only everyone that's hearing my voice, but everyone begins to thrive. And as Paul said, we go from glory to glory. Not from this place to a heavenly place, but from glory to glory on this plane of existence. see with me that this emergency that we are living leads to an emergence of something totally new, and that the universe is back of it and pushing it, and we are following its direction, and we're being lifted by it, and as we are lifted, we lift others, because I don't want to go back to normal. I'm letting my heart lead me. I'm asking that you do the same. In the name of the all-good, this is true, and so it is.